So we need to get clear to start with. We need to get clear on what do you want to create? Who are you authentically? And those two things are interlinked. They go hand in hand. If you are looking to move forward in your life towards your authentic dreams without sacrificing your emotional health, your nervous system, your relationships, or your spiritual health, well, you are in good company. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Courtney Lancaster, and this is a safe space for Christian creatives. This is the Heal Create podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Heal Create podcast. This is season 3, episode 2. Yes. I am excited to talk about emotional sustainability today. I'm sure that phrasing is out there somewhere. I'm sure that it is. I probably even heard it somewhere. I don't know where. So another part of me thinks that I made it up. I'm sure that I didn't, though. What it actually means is, well, let's talk about how creatives are the most susceptible to self-destruction and burnout. In general, because we are typically not the ones that live our lives or run our businesses or create things from a outline with, breaks and clarity. Like, that's typically not the creative. And this podcast is for people that are putting things out into the world that are inside of them first. And that can be a lot of things. So it's most likely not for the type A personalities that have a very, very clear plan. Usually it's for the very heart-led people that are trying to do something new. I mean, I know people that are trying to heal generational trauma, that have had childhoods and generations behind them that were not functional, that were not healthy, and they're trying to create a healthy family system and a healthy family experience for themselves and their kids. You are tapping into your creativity for that because it's uncharted territory. You're a pioneer. There are people that are, I think, trying to access their own authenticity and build a business from that place, or put art out into the world, or be content creators and influencers even. That's a very fair and important use of creativity. So that's what this podcast is. Those are the people that this podcast is for, which you most likely know by now. And the reason why emotional sustainability is so important is because those are the exact people that are most likely to self-destruct because of unsustainable emotional practices when it comes to building things with your life and tapping into your own creative pioneering power. So I want to talk about what is sustainability. I think sustainability became a buzzword when we started talking about and noticing, like, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years ago, when we were really began talking about like global warming. It was like environmental care and passion. And obviously there have been people that have always cared about the environment, but it's definitely become something that's front of mind culturally in the last 15 to 20 years. And the word sustainability is, part of our zeitgeist. It's a buzzword. Sustainability, I looked it up and it said the ability to maintain processes or states over time, ensuring resource availability for future generations. And I would say for the creatives, emotional sustainability is the ability to maintain processes or states over time, ensuring resource availability for your future. And the thing about creatives is that the act of creating, so let's say maybe this is more for like performers, it can be so exhilarating and it can feel like such a high. And there's a lot of reasons for that, even just chemically in your body. And if we aren't aware that what follows that kind of high is generally a low, then we'll either spend all of our time trying to seek that high, which we all know how that goes. We're very familiar with stories of artists like ruining their lives trying to chase a high, or we'll avoid creativity altogether because the high scares us and we don't want to face the low. And then, even for more broad people that are creating maybe businesses or, healthy families or healthy relationships, um, there there is some strength that is needed in order to build some of these things that can feel really defeating when you are facing some of the challenges of creativity, and that can keep us kind of from moving forward in our own lives and with those things that we want to create too. So emotional sustainability, it involves paying attention to your states, paying attention to kind of the roller coaster of being a human in general, but the roller coaster of really creating new things for anyone, having new ideas and creating new things, is something that we want to pay attention to. And almost like as you watch yourself engage in the creative process, whatever that looks like for you, pay attention to what different parts of the process feel like: the inspirational part, the grind part, the performing part, the oh my god I did it part. Like, pay attention to all of those different things and know that it's all normal and it's all a part of the process. I'm going to give you some tips on actually like how to pay attention to this more. But just by paying attention to your own life and your own relationship with your creativity and with the things that you want to create, you're going to get a handle on, well, first of all, hopefully you'll kind of unshame any area of any moment of the process, because you'll sort of know and notice that it's cyclical and that it's universal. And, we're all struggling and learning through and growing through this, engaging with our own creativity. But paying attention to your own rhythms is really essential for learning how to be sustainable, because it's this trial and error process. So that being said, there are some actual things that you can do on the onset to help yourself move forward sustainably. And the first thing that I want you to think about is creating from authentic vision. So what is authentic vision? When you have, so there's this Bible verse that says the people perish without vision. And that's probably like it's not the verse necessarily, but the idea is that is my absolute North Star. Because I know what it's like to not have a vision and to feel like I'm perishing. But the science really supports the idea that you can't heal if you can't dream. And that was an essential pivot point for me in my own healing journey from resolving anxiety and depression. Absolutely essential. And it's something that I walk all of my clients through. There's so many things, oh my gosh, so many things that we want to heal and we want to be on the other side of, and we want to overcome when it comes to, chronic illness or anxiety or generational trauma, or even, nutrition habits or exercise or relationships or friendships. There's so many things that we're like, this pattern of mine, I wish I was on the other side of it. I want it to be over. And so we're trying to learn about all of these things to help us heal and help us to, move through it. But the truth is, that's actually all of those things that you're learning about in order to heal are all actually helping you get somewhere, not just overcome something behind you. So we need to get clear to start with. We need to get clear on what do you want to create? Who are you authentically? And those two things are interlinked. They go hand in hand. And so there are a lot of ways to discover who this is. And I know that I have past podcast episodes that you can kind of look at and figure out. But as far as your authentic self. But, just to give you a quick rundown, your authentic self is, I always like to say, you are who you hope you are. So it's the moments when you feel, technically speaking, it's when your nervous system is relaxed and you feel connected to other people. You feel joyous, you feel hopeful, you feel inspired, you feel a part of the earth, and you feel clarity around, oh my gosh, I know exactly what I want to do. Or, it would be so fun. Those are just absolute imperatives when it comes to clues you should pay attention to about who you are and why you're here. The more clarity you can get around who you are, the more that you can not drown in discouragement when you are showing up not as that person. And you can see it more as old patterns that just need to be healed, that are in the way of you being that authentic version of you. Same with your creative vision. When you know what you're creating, and I will say there's a difference between creative play and like actually creating something. So I'm not talking about if you're just like, I'm just going to go, like I did this morning. I have watercolor set on my table and a watercolor book. And I probably every morning just spend, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes just watercoloring for no reason other than it quiets my mind. It's a creative, it's part of my sort of daily practice. And it's just play. It's just like me figuring stuff out, like learning more and more about, it's just me kind of learning about the medium of watercolor. And that kind of creativity is different. It's more of there's no point to it. There's nothing that I'm trying to do with it. It's just for my own benefit. And the kind of creativity that I'm talking about is the kind of creativity where you have an idea of either a skill that you would like to hone. Let's say you want to be able to accompany yourself on the piano. Or there is a business that you would like to build. You want to have some kind of business, or you have a vision of what it looks like to have a personal brand on social media. That's also creativity. Or maybe it's that you want to create a really healthy relationship. Or maybe you feel like you are an actor and you want to continue to hone your skills and be available for opportunities. I have some clients like that are coming your way. It's a little bit less in your control as far as what kind of opportunities you're going to get, but there's a lot in your control as far as like your skills and your readiness and how the kind of vision that you have for what kind of actor lifestyle you'd like to have. So, or like I said, it could be you creating a healthy family system or healing trauma. It's what you want to put out into the world. And every single person has the opportunity to cultivate a vision for what they want to create, knowing that every single day is an opportunity to take a step towards that vision. But we got to be clear about what that is. And we have to be clear about who you are authentically. So like, for example, if there is a part of you that really wants to be a lawyer because you want to make your parents happy, and every time you think about it, you feel this sort of frantic, like, no, I really need to become a lawyer, but you just feel like frantic and icky about it. I hope that's a very obvious example of what it feels like to have a vision based on a wounded part of you. Or like, maybe I guess I really should be a teacher because that's like what I studied for. And that's, really like, I know the world probably needs that, but I don't feel lit up about it, but it is, what I should do. That's not an authentic vision. That's like a vision for your life from a part of you that feels some kind of obligation for some reason. An actual vision for your life can only come when you are feeling deeply spiritually connected to something greater. You're feeling connected to yourself. You're feeling that sense of like joy and groundedness. And like, I am here in this present moment. I feel really good in my body. I can like see myself in the future doing this thing that even thinking about it lights me up. That is an authentic vision. So you can go back. I think that there is an episode where I talk about the evidence journal. The evidence journal is basically, if you are just starting from scratch, getting to know your authentic self, then you can have Sarah Baldwin taught me this years and years ago, to have a journal where you collect every moment that you have, which they feel few and far between if you're like me. Back in the day when I was like just barely getting my anxiety resolved, I feel like there were very few moments of this, but everybody has at least small moments. They're technically called glimmers. And you're going to write down in your evidence journal what happened. So like if you felt really grounded and wonderful and you're driving down the street and your favorite song comes on and you roll down the windows and you're just like, oh my gosh, here I am. That's always a great place to start, just by saying, here I am. And then pay attention. Okay, wait, how do I feel when I'm in this place? What sounds fun to me? What sounds like it lights me up? Another way you can pay attention to your authentic self is to think about the things that you used to dream about becoming when you were a kid. There's a super in-depth deep dive into this in my course, in the Heal Create course, all about getting crystal clear on who your authentic self is. I would absolutely check that out if you haven't yet. That's probably been some of my favorite feedback from people that have taken the course, is just being like, oh my gosh, it's not a mystery anymore, like what I'm doing here. And anytime that you have those moments when you connect to that truth, the truth of who you actually are, write them down. Write them down in your evidence journal or on a note on your phone, and reference them when you do not feel like you're in that place. So creating from your vision is really important, because there's going to be lots of moments when you don't feel inspired. And if we listen to our two parts of ourselves when we are feeling that like lack of inspiration or that dysregulation, then what happens is we get really off course and we can't figure out why we're not actually doing anything with our lives. And so, or we're not moving towards the thing that we want to move towards. And so, knowing who you are authentically will help you to take steps forward no matter how you feel. And that actually helps you build trust with yourself, which is really important for creating emotionally, in emotionally healthy ways. Trusting yourself, it becomes very nuanced when you are the guide and the caretaker of your own heart and body and creative process, and you're just continuing to build trust with yourself. Then that makes it a lot easier to navigate those lows. So creating from vision is probably the number one thing for moving forward. And on the flip side of that is my second tip, which is, this isn't really a tip, this is like a life imperative, is get to know the parts of you that hate what you're creating. It's such a thing that I don't know that we fully have the language yet, but man, is the language getting out there quickly. Gosh, I feel like every day that I go on social media, somebody else is talking about internal family systems or parts work or inner child work. And it's just imperative. Like, you're never going to get around inner child work. And the reason why is because we have to know that the thing that you want to create will also require your greatest healing. That's the design. That's the design of God. I think it's brilliant. I feel really honored to be somebody who puts this message out into the world, because I don't think people understand fully the connection, but your dreams will always require your healing. And so when you have this authentic vision and you feel like, yes, this is what I want to do, and it feels like you have a lot of momentum and productivity, maybe in bursts, and then you have these moments where you're like, ugh, do I even want to do that? That's a stupid idea. Like, I'm faking it. Everybody's going to find out I'm a fake. You're going to get to know these patterns and technically these parts of you that are not on board. And there's a lot here and a lot to think about here, but we want to really get to know these parts of us, because the truth of who you are will come in your moments of authenticity. The truth of who you are comes up in those authentic, inspirational glimmers where you feel clear on who you are and why you're here and what you want to do with your life. So, for a lot of us, that's like 5% of the time. And the other 95% of the time is us feeling self-doubt and insecurity and fear and holding ourselves back and getting frustrated at ourselves. That's not a problem. That's not a bad thing. That's pretty human and pretty universal. I know for me, it felt like 99% of the time I was really, really low, really anxious and scared and low and, so deeply insecure. I felt like I had no idea who I was. But then I would have these tiny moments where I was like, wait, yes, I do. I know who I am. So we want to grow our connection to our authentic self and really trust that that is who we actually are. And then slowly and gently get to know these parts of us, get to know the insecure parts of us. What do they feel insecure about? What are they afraid people are going to say? What are they afraid that is going to happen if they fail? Like, just journaling back and forth is a great way to get to know these parts of you. Or working with somebody who's, able to help you with parts work, getting support, can be really important for a lot of people. Even paying attention to like things that might not even feel relevant, but are keeping you from moving forward. Like you get really excited about, um, posting on social media, and then all of a sudden you're like super exhausted. Like get curious about that. Or you were like planning your Saturday to be really productive, and then you all of a sudden are scrolling for 2 hours instead of doing the things that you wanted to do. Get curious about that. Get to know all of these patterns of yours and don't let them freak you out. Know that your body, when you are finding that you're not moving towards the thing that lights you up, when you are in your authentic self, you can know that your body and old beliefs and younger quote unquote parts of you are scared. They're scared to move forward. And there are lots of ways to figure out why that is, but you need to know that like that's your work. Whatever's in the way is the way. And this is the reason why this is essential for emotional sustainability, is because a lot of people that are trying to create things try and override their own lows, their own patterns, their own parts that are holding them back. They try and override themselves. This was absolutely me. Oh my gosh, to my detriment. Because they just feel like, why can't I just get it together? Instead of having compassion and curiosity for these experiences, they try and like push towards the high of creativity. And you need to know that it's all a part of your process. And that the more that you're compassionate and curious about anything that you do or experience that doesn't feel like you're moving forward or letting yourself move forward, the more that you grow trust with those parts of you, able to get to know yourself in that way. Know that everything belongs. Know that everything that you think or do that isn't in alignment with your authentic self, or just parts of you that need your guidance, then it gets easier and easier to take small steps forward, which leads me to my last tip. Tip is not the word. This is like, we're talking about some real life, some life stuff here. Your daily practice, I don't know. There's lots of ways to say this. You're only as strong as your daily practice. Your daily practice makes up your life. Like we have to bring intention into these lives of ours. And that can be a lot. We need to take breaks. We got to take a break and watch Netflix. Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, I'm like counting down the hours until my husband gets home so that we can watch The Bear. I don't know if you guys have seen The Bear. Message me if you have, because it's so good. It's so much about trauma and healing trauma. Anyways, we all need those breaks. Watching The Bear has literally nothing to do with the things that I want to create in the world, but it's a break and it's lovely. But the avoidance or lack of intention or going on autopilot is not helping you. And so when we're talking about a daily practice, we're talking about doing things every day that help move us forward a little bit, no matter what state we're in. And the two essentials that you want to think about with your daily practice is nervous system regulation and inner child work. Nervous system regulation is you helping your body feel a little safer in the world, a little better. So I always include a movement, some kind of movement practice. I move my body every single day. And there are some days for women, especially depending on your cycle, there are some parts of the month where I'm like really moving and hiking and doing some really intense movement. And then there are other times when I'm doing yoga or just taking gentle walks or whatever. But like moving, if emotion is energy in motion, moving is what helps that energy kind of process through you. And you don't even need to know all of that. You just need to know that it helps your body feel a little bit better. It helps you come back into your body. There's also the NeuroFit app, which I've talked about. The NeuroFit app has little tiny exercises that you can do to bring cues of safety to your body through little movements. And then inner child work. And that can look like journaling with yourself every day. How are you doing? Like, what do you need today? Some kind of daily practice that just helps you build trust with yourself and bring regulation to your body. And then for those of us in big creative processes, which is, probably everybody listening, what is one small step I can take towards the thing I'm trying to create today? So your daily practice, absolutely essential. Emotional sustainability is something that I became really passionate about when I burnt out completely. I just kept getting on big stages and singing and performing, and my nervous system was absolutely freaking out. And I ended up completely quitting, thinking I was never going to sing again, thinking I was never going to perform or worship lead or write a song or whatever, because I literally didn't want to, because I was so burnt out. And then paying attention to all the artists that came back to touring or to writing or performing after 2020 and seeing how they could not, so many tours got booked and then canceled, just because they were had gone through so much and their nervous systems couldn't sustain it anymore. So emotional sustainability is something that I'm so passionate about, because the world needs healthy creatives more than ever, which you've probably heard me say. I hope that helped you today. I hope that encouraged you, gave you a little bit of guidance around how to take some steps forward. And I really want you to know that you are so not alone. This path of healing and creating, this is the path that these generations that we are, privileged to run with in these days are all being invited to, including you. You have beautiful, beautiful things to put out into the world and to experience for your own self. So I love you all so much. I was going to say too, if you need help with the daily practice, that's another great, that's what I created the Heal Create course for. I actually changed the name to the Heal Create method, but that would be another thing to look into too. If you're curious about like, what would a daily practice look like for me, or what are some ideas? There's like hundreds of ideas in that segment of the course. So that's all for today. I hope that you guys have such a beautiful weekend, or whenever you listen to this. If you have any questions or you'd like to rate this podcast, which would help me out so much, I would be so willing and would love to hear from you. So that's it from me. Have a great day.